There is a watch that costs less than a nice dinner, whose stainless steel bracelet is not actually stainless steel, and whose gold tone variants are not actually gold. It has been worn by a man with over $100 billion and by the best footballer alive in the same year. It's been in continuous production longer than the iPhone has existed. And at the most watched night in watchmaking, it outshone every Patek, every Richard Mille, and every Hublot in the room. This is the Casio A158WA-1, and the reason it ended up on the wrist of the 2022 Ballon d'Or winner, while every six-figure watch around him got ignored, is the specific thing the industry still has not said out loud. That is where this story gets uncomfortable for everyone trying to sell you a $10,000 watch. My name is Lucas, and let's take a look at the $30 Casio that is quietly taking Rolex apart. Because to understand that red carpet, you first need to understand the industrial collapse the Swiss watch industry walked into in 1969. In 1969, the Swiss watch industry controlled roughly half of the world market, and mechanical watchmaking was its cathedral. That December, Seiko released the Astron, the world's first quartz watch, which the Swiss dismissed because it was not mechanical. That dismissal is one of the most expensive miscalculations in modern industrial history. Between 1970 and 1983, the number of Swiss watchmakers collapsed from about 1,600 to 600. Meanwhile, in a Tokyo suburb, a company founded in 1946 by Tadao Casio was making calculators. Casio wasn't a watch company. In 1974, it released its first watch, the Casio Tron, and positioned it as a luxury item. It cost a month's salary. It failed, and today almost no one outside of collectors remembers it. But it proved something. If watches were going to be electronic, then electronics companies had a structural advantage over traditional watchmakers. That insight led, 15 years later, to the product the entire Swiss industry failed to take seriously. In 1989, Casio released the F91W, the $20 plastic watch that would eventually sell over 100 million units. But in the same year, in the same factory, using the exact same Module 593 guts, Casio shipped a second version. A watch with a metal look bracelet, a chrome-plated bezel, a silhouette that looked from 3 feet away like a stainless steel dress watch from a Swiss catalog. It cost about $25. When I first picked one up next to a Submariner, I genuinely had to squint. This is the first sub-$30 watch ever designed to pass for a luxury piece. And what Casio used to make that trick work, the physical thing holding the whole illusion together, is a detail almost no one notices until their bracelet starts peeling. Because 33 years later, this watch was going to walk onto the most watched red carpet in watch culture on the wrist of the best footballer alive. But first, Casio had to ship it. The A158WA-1 left the factory in 1989 with a feature sheet brutally simple. Module 593. Accurate to within 30 seconds a month. More accurate than most mechanical watches costing 100 times more. One CR2016 battery runs the entire watch for 7 years. The cost of owning it for most of a decade is essentially nothing. It has a daily alarm, a 100th second stopwatch, and an auto calendar. And that metal look bracelet, that chrome-plated bezel, that dressy from a distance silhouette, all of it is largely plastic with a metallic coating, a coating that, with enough wear, comes off, exposing the plastic underneath. A $25 watch that looks like stainless steel, until one day, it does not. I've watched collectors who own Pateks and Grand Seikos put A158s in their daily rotation, foil peeling and all, and asked more than one of them why. The answer is always the same: because they love it. Bill Gates, with a net worth over $100 billion, wears a Casio Duro that retails for $69.95 in daily rotation. Gerard Pique has been photographed repeatedly in the steel A158WA-1. Ryan Gosling wears the A168WA-1, the A158's slightly chunkier sibling, on stage with his band Dead Man's Bones. Mark Ruffalo, on record in an interview, says his daily wear is a solar-powered Casio because he is pro-solar. The same logic puts a gold case Apple Watch edition on a rapper's wrist for $17,000, while Bill Gates wears a $70 Casio to the same dinner. The A158 is the only watch I can name that has stayed in continuous production, essentially unchanged, since 1989, all of which would have remained a quiet footnote, except for what happened on a single red carpet in 2022. Picture the room. 2022 Ballon d'Or in Paris. The front 3 rows were effectively a live Swiss watch catalog. Pateks slipping out from under Fendi cuffs, Richard Mille's iced out hublots, every wrist in the building telling a story about how much it cost. Walking through it in a 3-piece black and gold tux was Robert Lewandowski, on his way to being named the best footballer in the world that night. His watch was a Casio A158WA-1 gold-toned, retail between about $65 and $85. And here's the thing. The gold isn't gold, it's plated. The plating wears off. Same foil trick, just in a warmer color. It was the watch that stole the show. I have been covering watches for a long time, and I still cannot fully explain what it felt like to watch editors across the industry scramble to file 1,000 words about a $70 Casio the morning after the Ballon d'Or. Nobody had a template for it. The reason it mattered was not that Lewandowski was making a statement. He was not. It was just what he wore. The Casio did not have to beat the Pateks in the room. It just had to be there on the best wrist in the building to make every 6-figure watch around it look like it was trying too hard. According to Morgan Stanley's 2024 analysis, Swiss watch production fell to a historic low of 15.3 million units in 2024, down 9.5% from the year before. The industry that laughed at quartz in 1969 was quietly contracting into Rolex, and Rolex alone. The exact pattern is playing out across categories where the premium tier has spent a decade pretending the accessible tier does not exist. The Apple Watch has overtaken Swiss unit volume. IKEA now outsells inherited furniture. Fast fashion is eating heritage tailoring alive. The question, why Rolex used to have an automatic answer. Right now, it does not. So what does a $30 Casio actually tell us? The story of this watch isn't really about this watch. It is about what happens when a luxury category spends 35 years pretending that what makes its product expensive is also what makes it good. The A158WA-1 is a plastic case with foil on it. It keeps better time than a $40,000 mechanical movement. It is worn by a man with $100 billion and by the footballer who just won the Ballon d'Or. Its bracelet peels. It doesn't care. The people still showing up on red carpets wearing it aren't making a statement. They have just stopped pretending the statement was ever worth making. The Apple Watch has quietly outsold the entire Swiss industry on unit volume. AI is doing what consultants used to charge $10,000 a day for. The signal is all pointing the same way. A $30 Casio isn't beating Rolex. It is making the question why Rolex is too hard to answer. What's the cheapest watch you've ever genuinely loved? The one you kept wearing long after you thought you would? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.